Hi, Taryn.
Hi, Sarah.
Welcome to She Can't Do That.
But she did it anyway.
There we go.
Love her.
Who do we have today?
Dr. Addie Soffer, clinical psychologist, has her own practice in Santa Monica. Immigrant from Israel. You might know something about immigration.
I sure do. Interesting thing about her interview. I mean, there's so many interesting things about her interview. But her immigration story is similar than mine, but also very different than mine.
Ooh.
Which I thought was interesting. She's wonderful.
I can't wait to hear her story.
She was wonderful. Should we get into it?
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
So, Addie, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So excited to have you here.
So excited to be here.
We are very excited. You're our first person that we're talking to that immigrated here. I would love to start at the very beginning of you and where were you born?
So I was born in Israel. I grew up in Israel, in Jerusalem. And I grew up, everything was normal, everything is great. And after high school in Israel, what you do is you have to serve in the army. So I served for 2 years in the army. I was like a social worker.
Everybody has to serve, women and men?
Yeah, women and men.
We have that in Germany too, but just the men have to do it.
Yeah. So in Israel, women too. Women have to serve 2 years and then men 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a big chunk of your.
Yeah.
So you just know that growing up that
Yes.
At 18, are you 18 when you finish high
Yes.
school? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at 18, you're going to have to give 2 or 3 years of your life to service.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So then I think that also, now that I'm thinking about it, there's like this American pressure to do well in school, in high school, in order to to move on to college and to be, to start your applications for college and all of those things. Now I'm actually only now that I'm just thinking about it, we don't have that.
Right.
Because we know that anyway, after your high school is over, you're going to go and serve the army. That's what you focus on. So, and then, so in Israel, what they usually do is after you serve in the army, you take a gap year, go explore life somewhere else. Many people go to I don't know, like India or like that, more of those type of countries to just kind of like let go and enjoy yourself there. Many people also go to South America because it's, it's cheaper. It's like backpacking. You see the world, you see what you want to do and just like enjoy your time.
And is this something you do with friends and you just kind of, it's casual?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you do it with friends. Sometimes people do it alone, but they know that they're going to meet people. It's all about this like backpacking culture that many Israelis like to do. And then when you come back from that, like after a year or two, you go to college. So you way older than the kids here.
Yeah.
And you experience things in life, and now you know what you want to do in life. So I think I would suggest that to my kids for sure, to at least take like a gap year or two to really go explore the world and come back a little bit more mature and think what you actually want to do with your life. So
yeah, because by then, I mean, if you're 18 when you finish high school, you serve for 2 years, you're 20, then you take a year to kind of travel, explore the world, you're 21.
Exactly.
So it's not until you're 22 that you're starting to think about, do I want to be a lawyer? Do I want to be a doctor? Do I want to be a therapist?
Exactly.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's basically what I did. So I served in the army, and after 2 years, at the end of my service, they promoted this really cool activity that we could have done, that we could do, which is to go to the US to be a summer camp counselor. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And that's, free trip to United States, to be there for 3 months and explore and just like be a counselor somewhere else. I was always like growing up, I was a youth movement counselor. And like I grew up in this youth movement and I was really into all of that. So then, so I did that. And I came here, I was in Baltimore for 3 months. And I loved it.
What kind of a summer camp was it? Was it an activity summer camp in the woods?
So it was in the woods. It was really fun. You could either do the overnight summer, like the resident, or a day camp. I did the day camp, and then I stayed over with like hosting families that hosted me for 3 months. So I really got to experience what it's like to be an American. I don't know.
Yes.
What was a significant difference for you between Israel and America?
Oh, so much. It was very different. Even now, I look at the pictures of the pictures that I took when I came here for the first time. It was really funny. Like I took pictures of like Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, things like that felt like different. Just everything felt different. Everything felt big. And, and I remember they took me to the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, that's definitely an intense
Show you the typical American experience.
Exactly. So all the dishes were huge. And I never seen something like that. And the fact that you can get refilled for like Coke and sodas and stuff like that.
That impressed me too. That is so funny because I was in America for the first time when I was 16 from Germany. I've never been to Israel, so I can't compare Israel and Germany. But that's one thing that I was like, wow, you can just go back to that fountain and refill your Coke? What?
Exactly. So much sugar, huh?
But the things that stuck with you are so interesting.
Exactly. So, and I remember, one thing that I remember that I liked so much when I just came here was I went to Barnes & Noble, and it was like 3-floor, bookstore. And I was fascinated by it. It was like one of the things. And then inside Barnes & Noble, you have Starbucks or like whatever, like a coffee place. And it was like, to me, that was like such a big deal. So, because I always loved to read, and this just felt like heaven. So I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed that summer. My husband keep making fun of me that it's like, we keep talking about it as if it's like one time in Benke. Because I keep referencing back to like, that summer, because it just felt like something new that I've never felt before. And then at the end of that summer, I went back home, and since I really liked working with the American community and also this like relationship between Israel and United States, I worked as a gap year counselor in Israel. So Americans that came to Israel, I was their counselor and I helped them in Israel to kind of like explore the time in Israel. And then at the end of that year, I asked my boss, and I said, I really want to continue doing something similar to that. What should I do next? And she said, you can do like a gap year, somewhere in the United States where you can be the youth movement director. And it's the same feeling like the summer camp, but throughout the year. And I really liked that idea. So I applied and I got in. And so they sent me here to Los Angeles to be this youth movement director. And to me, going back to what I told you before about what usually Israelis do after the army, they want to backpack, they want to do something like that. I knew that it's not really my personality. I don't really like that. But what I wanted to do is to explore life somewhere else for a year, to live as if I'm part of that culture. And And that's it, like just to explore that and go back to Israel, and continue to live my life. So I never thought that I would leave Israel. That was not my plan. And then I came here and for this really cool program. And basically the moment I landed here, I met who became my husband.
Mm-hmm. That's gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I landed here and I met him and we started just, dating, not to the point of dating. It was just like, hey, let me show you around because you're new in the city and, let's go out. And then I found out that he likes salsa dancing and I loved it. And so we went salsa dancing and as you know, one thing leads to another and we started dating. But yeah, it was just a fun year. And I knew that at the end of it, I was 21. I knew that at the end of it, like, I'm just going to go back home and continue my life and never see him again.
Was that kind of like was it the thought you kept during that year that you're going to go back? Or
yes.
Did you have the thought very early on, it's like, maybe I can stay here?
No. So I was raised, here's another thing that, I was raised to love Israel, right? And to like, it's not like here where you, you want to go study somewhere else, then you leave somewhere else and no big deal. In Israel, since we have to fight for our land and we have to fight for physically being there, you're raised, especially then you go to the army and you have to serve for your country, you're raised in a way that like, this is your only place in the world. You're never going to leave this place. This is your home. This is your family. These are your friends. And that's it. So go explore the world. Yes, go travel, but you have to come back. You have to be here. And so my mentality was always like, no way that I'm leaving Israel. So yeah, like throughout that year, it was just like, I'm 21, I'm having fun. Like that's great. And then at the end of the year, I went back to Israel. And I did what I always wanted to do. I took this, there's a big test that you have to take like this, the SAT, how do you call it here?
Oh, the SAT.
The SAT. Mm-hmm. So there's a big test that you have to take like that in order to get into
universities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have to pass at a certain point, like you have to get a certain point in order to apply to specific degrees. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they have it here. Do they have something like that here? I don't think so, right?
No, I'm not aware of a threshold. Like the max is 1600 that you can score on the SAT, or at least it was when I took it. And I don't know of a threshold where it's like, you have to get 1540 in order to be
exactly
X, Y, or Z.
So in Israel, it's like that. So, so for example, if you want to apply to psychology, you have to get 700, and the maximum of that, like the range is basically, I think, from like 400 to 800. 800 is if you want to be a doctor, like if you want to be a medical doctor. 700 is still really high, and in order to apply to become to study psychology, and I'm talking about just BA, like I'm not even talking about more than that. And then if you get less than that, then just find yourself. So basically, so I knew that that's the score that I need to get, and back then, by the way, like I wasn't a good student. Like I was an okay student. And at subjects that I was good at, I got easy A's, but subject that I was not good at, I didn't want to study. Like it was just not my thing. And so I tried to take this test, and I got really, really poor score on it.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I knew that anyway, like if I want to study psychology, that's always what I wanted to do. If I wanted to study psychology, I need to repeat, I need to study, I need to do something about it.
So you have the chance to repeat the test?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have the chance, but many people, they have to take it multiple times until they get to the right number. And only then can go and apply and get the application in, and you know how it is.
I have a question along those lines. So who is behind the scenes with those tests? Like, is it the government that issues those tests or the universities? Like, who is it that's saying everyone has to take this test, and depending on your score, that will dictate if you advance to a certain profession or not?
You know what? It's a good question. I think it's the universities.
Okay.
I think it's the universities. Yeah. Because I can imagine, and this was a long time ago, so I don't really know, because then I moved here. But I don't really know, but I think that you can go to a private university, for example. You can go to a private university, which actually ranks lower.
That was going to be one of my questions. Yeah.
And then you can just decide what you want to do.
Right.
But if you want to go with the big universities, and the big universities are part of the, it's like the UCs, here. These are the big and the most recognized universities. Then you have to go through this system.
Okay.
But it's kind of the same in Germany and even here too. I mean, if you want to go to Stanford and study something specific, you have to have a certain degree, or you have to have a certain
you have to get
or whatever
1600.
That's what the university says.
Right.
Yeah. And it's in Germany it's the same thing. Like it depends on your high school notes that you got, and you have this extra year that you do, the 13th year of school, the Abitur. You can wait, and that gets you better scores. Like if you say you're not there yet, you don't have the best degree when you finished high school, you can like do a gap year, and that kind of pushes you up the ladder.
Yeah.
And then there are tests. You can do the medicine test, which when you want to study medicine, which brings you closer to that option. But it's the same thing with like the good public schools or the private schools. Like if you have money, if you pay for the private schools, like they take you even if you don't have that great of a test.
Exactly.
But it's kind of the
similar.
same here too, right? Different universities have different.
Yeah, but the SAT is not profession focused. It's not going to tell you if you should go to Stanford to become a doctor or an engineer.
Yeah, we have that with a few. I mean, we have this medicine test, for example, in Germany. If you were not that good at school, but you want to become a doctor, you do like this extra round of this medicine test. And if you're very good at that, you can still study medicine, even though you didn't have the right scores before.
Exactly. So that is similar.
That's similar to
So so I took the test. I did very poorly on it, and I also, continued the relationship with this boyfriend that I had back then, right? So
the long distance. He was in LA.
He was in LA.
The furthest away.
Yes, he was in LA. The time changes like 10 hours. So, and we continued with this long distance relationship for a little while. And then I told myself, okay, anyway, I have to take this test. Anyway, I'm 21. What do I have to lose? I'm going back. I'm coming back to LA. I wanna try this relationship. So I came here, and it was really important to me to have, and that's like my, I don't know if it's like feminism or anything, but like it was really important to me to have something on my own, so I won't rely on him. So to get my visa for myself, to have a job, to have my own money, to have my own thing. But of course, since we wanted to try this relationship, we would leave together. That's fine. So I came here and I found this job through the Israeli government. I found this job to work at the Israeli airline company at LAX. And so everyone that wants to travel to Israel, specifically with this airline, they have to go through a short interview to be a passenger on this airline because of the extra security that we do. So I was that agent.
Oh, interesting.
And so I applied, I got in, and everything kind of like basically like was in line with my timeline and everything that I wanted. And I got my visa through them. I came to the US. I did that.
What kind of visa was that? Was it specific for this job?
It was specific for the job. It was for, so you had to commit to 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could extend it if you want to stay longer.
Just for every American who's listening, it's very complicated to come to this country.
Exactly.
If you're not American.
Yes.
Like some people
And you
don't
have
know.
to find a way, because you can't work on a visitor,
No, you're not allowed to
visa.
work.
You're not allowed to
Exactly.
work. So you have to find something specific to do. And like, again, I couldn't care less about airline companies or anything like that.
Right.
But I needed to find a way to come back here and to be, legal to work and to find a way that, that I can be here. So
And you
that was
also
my way.
can't work as anything else. So if you say
Exactly.
like, oh, this job
Exactly.
doesn't pay me enough money, I can't go
I can't
anywhere
go
and like
anywhere
flip
else.
burgers somewhere or to be
Exactly.
a waitress, you're not allowed to do that. You can
That's right.
only work this job. And if you lose that job,
Then you go back.
you go back home.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So much pressure.
Yeah.
Yes.
How much planning did that take? Like, how long did you have to plan for that move back here?
So luckily, when I started thinking about moving back here, I applied right away to this job, and luckily, I got in really fast, and they had a training starting really fast, and so that was also kind of like my thought process was like, everything just happens for a reason. Like everything like fits into what I needed to be. So I'm not going to say no. Like everything just like pushes me
Oh, that is
to like,
so lucky.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's just like everything fit exactly to the point where like the training ended in a certain time. And that's actually when I also took my test. So I studied for 3 months and the training was like for 3 months or something like that. Just like everything fit into this mold of like, just do it.
Yeah.
Just go into it. And I think actually I forgot that and now I remember like very clearly that like when I got my score on the test, and it was like a very poor score, that was the day that I also finished my training. So then it was kind of like, okay, as if it was a big sign of like, no, you're not going to university here starting in a few months. You can't do that. Take this opportunity. Just go and try it. See how, where life takes you.
That is so nice, kind of, I feel like, because if you would have had that great test score.
Yes.
And then the
Who knows?
opportunity, then it's like all on you to make these decisions. I love it sometimes when life makes decisions for us.
Ah, yes.
Because you're like, oh my God, I don't know. I wish somebody would just tell me what the right way to do it would be. And in this case, it was like, well, I can't start studying here because I have this poor test result that's not going to. So I do the other thing that I can do.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice of life to do that for you sometimes.
Yes. And I can say that not many people can stop and recognize that. Because I think that like this story could have been different if maybe someone else would not look at it as an opportunity, right? If someone else would have to look at it as like, wow, like, okay, I can't do it. I'm just going to stop here because clearly I just got a very poor score on this test. I'm not capable of doing that. And whatever, like, and more things, right? But for me, I took it as, and I wish that many people would do that, right? I took it as a sign. I took it as like, that's okay. Not right now. We're going to put it on pause. Let's go explore that other option, right? So I think in life in general, it's all about the way that you look at it, the way that you can find those moments and you can understand that these are growth opportunities. These are moments that you can choose how you want to view it, right? And yes, I was devastated. Don't get me wrong, because I just studied for, a few months and I took this test thinking that I can do it. And then, I got the results and I was like, wow, I'm very far. I think I got around like, this is the first time I'm saying that. But you don't care and I don't care either. But like, this was like on me to like, wow, I'm not going to share it with anybody because I felt so embarrassed, right? But yeah, I got like a 555 and I needed 700. That was very far.
Wow, yeah.
So yeah, but that's what I mean. I think that I took it at that moment as like, that's great. This is the sign that I was looking for. I'm going back to United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. So that's what I did. And I came here and I worked at this job, which again, that's definitely not what I wanted to do in life. But that's the way that I was able to be here and to be in the United States and to be legal and to work and to, and to do what I wanted to do. And so I came here and I said to myself, after a year, I started realizing that this relationship is not going to end in a good way. And so then everything shifted in my mind because, as I told you before, I was raised that no one leaves Israel.
Right.
Like that's the only place to be. And so
what did your parents and your family and your friends say?
They didn't like it.
That's what I thought.
They didn't like it. I am very close to my mom, and every moment that I stayed here, like especially at the beginning and even today, every moment that I'm here is a moment that I'm not next to her. And she made it very clear, that not that she's not supporting me, not at all. She supports everything that I do. But she wants me next to her.
Yeah.
And so I think that I felt, especially at the first few years here, I felt like I live in these like two different realities, right? Like one is like I have to send a message to my friends and family like that this is temporary. But on the other end, like I'm here and I'm loving it. And, and I love my husband and I love my life. And now I start to get used to being here as an adult, right? And so I was torn, right? It was that for many years, actually, for many years, that is how I felt. And I remember my husband told me one day, a sentence that I actually use it a lot in therapy, to give that as an advice to other people. And he told me one day, he said, I can definitely feel what you're experiencing, which is like you're here, but your head is somewhere else. And it's also technically what I did. Like I took over, like I did a swap lease of a car because I didn't want to commit to a full extended lease. And and like everything that I did was like kind of like calculated. Can I transfer? I actually started, and maybe I'll talk about it in a little bit, but I started school and everything I calculated in a way that like, can I transfer those courses to Israel? Can I do all of that in Israel? Like I couldn't really be here. And then one day we had a very deep conversation. And my husband said, if you're here, just be here. Be 100% here until you're not, right? So if you ever decide that you want to move back, go ahead and move back. It's not a problem. But if you are here, please be here, right? And try your best. Just like try your best to just be here. And if that doesn't work, then that doesn't work, and that's okay, right? But you can't do these like 50-50 or 80-20. No, you can't do that. You just have to be fully into what you're doing. And I think I live by it. Like now.
That's a great advice that you can take for so many areas in your life.
Exactly.
I always have these pictures of unpacked moving boxes. When you like move somewhere and you're like, I'm just going to be here for actually a little bit. And then that's the plan. Then I'm going to keep moving on from here. So I'm not even going to bother unpacking these boxes or hang pictures on the wall or make it cozy because I'm going to leave again. And then you stay for 3 years and you just lived on unpacked boxes.
For 3 years, yeah.
No pictures on the wall and never made it cozy. And you're like, that was 3 years. I could have really made it nice over these 3 years.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
And the thing is that, again, nothing stops you from then repacking and moving.
Exactly. Yeah, you can take the pictures off the wall again if you leave and pack your boxes again, but at least at the time you were there.
Yes. And you experience it fully.
Make you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. If you're going to do something, do it 100% and be fully present for that. Because it does change your experience
and even
of it.
if you know that you want something else and there are more opportunities out there. And I think that it applies to relationships. It applies to, career opportunities. It applies to anything in your life. When you're not giving the 100%, it's just not, it shows.
Right.
It shows. And then you are the one suffering, right? You are the one that is living in this house without, pictures on the wall. So why, right? Like, why doing that? And yeah,
so wise of your husband.
Right? That's
What
a
a
very
keeper.
wise advice.
Yeah, so I think that really shifted the way that I was thinking about it. And ever since, I really told myself, okay, fine. So I'll be here. I'll be here and I'll put the best that I can. And so I did go to school and I started studying in English, which was difficult for me because, as I started telling you before, it wasn't like I was a good student in school. And yes, you do study English. I'm sure that also in Germany, right? Do you study English?
Yeah.
As a second language.
Yeah, as a language in school, yeah.
Yeah. And I actually remember that I used to skip all my English classes. Because
and now you're like, oh, that wasn't smart.
I know, that wasn't smart. But I was so nervous that the teacher will call on me to say something in English in front of the whole class and to read something in front of the whole, oh, wow. Like I felt so nervous about that I didn't want to deal with it. So it wasn't like I was a good English student. It wasn't like I had the language or the knowledge from, growing up or something like that. And so, but I knew that I still want to. I knew that I still want to pursue my career and to become a psychologist. And also maybe like now I'm thinking back in the day, maybe I wasn't aware of that. But if there's something that I know about myself is that when somebody says no to me, now I want to do it twice.
You bet. Yeah. Buckle up then.
Exactly. Now it becomes a challenge. That is like straight on like challenge, except that I'm gonna do it.
Going quickly to the name of our podcast, you can't do that. Did you hear a lot of people in Israel especially, or even here in America telling you like, you're not going to pursue that, that's not going to happen, she can't do that?
I don't know if people told me that. I think that test told me that. You can't be a psychologist. You can't do that. I know that in Israel, it's a big deal of like if you want to become a psychologist, there are so many levels that you need, so many things that you need to do, and since I wasn't a good student, I think that people looked at me and like really, like, are you going to sit there and actually study? Like, that's not you. Like, not in a place of you can't do that, but like seriously, they didn't take me seriously. So I think that I also didn't take myself seriously. And that's I think, the most important thing, right? Because it's less about, to me, it's less about like other people telling me if I can or cannot do that. Because as I said, like if somebody tells me now I can't do that, I'm going to do it. But I never thought that I could do that, right? I never thought that this is something that I really like. Do I really want to go to school and actually study and do all of that and in English? Like it's not even like, not even to do, to sit through all of that, but to do all of it in a second language. Like I'm putting myself in a place of like, why do I need to do that? So I think that I put myself this limit of, I can't do that. You can't do that. But then I tried, and I went to Santa Monica College, and I took my first, psychology 101, to see if that feels good, if that's realistic, if I can do that, maybe. And I got an A, and I felt good. And I felt good, and and that was, and I remember that actually, like, I remember that I have this picture that I took of like all these notes in English. And I was like so excited about like, just like so proud of myself that I wrote everything in English. And so that led me to just, get my, like the AA and transfer. And yes, I did get so many no's. One of the big no that I got, I really wanted to go to UCLA. And they didn't accept me. And that broke me. And I really thought that I have a chance because I was a good student now that I knew what I wanted to do. And it didn't accept me, but UC Irvine accepted me. And I said to myself, okay, let's try that, right? Because that was also my mentality of like, okay, if one door closes, the other one opens. And actually, the program in UC Irvine is more related to what I actually care about, which is behavioral health. So it was psychology and behavioral health. So it was all about the social aspect of it and the behavioral aspect of it, of everything there. And I'm so happy, like now thinking about it, again, like thinking in hindsight, this was great. I'm so happy for that opportunity. And so I went to UC Irvine. I drove, an hour every day, basically 2 hours on a road, back and forth because my life was here with my husband. Back then, he was my boyfriend. And I worked while in school because, again, I had to keep my visa. I had to keep all of that. So I was still in that job that I never liked. But I never liked, but I can say, like, I am fortunate I feel good that I was able to have that. And yeah, so after I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I remember one day that I went to work. And again, like that work was, you have to interview, kind of like a few minutes of interviewing every passenger that goes on a plane. And I got to interview this one woman and I asked her, oh, what do you do? And she said, I'm a psychologist and she's Israeli. I said, oh, wow, that's cool. I heard that in order to become a psychologist here, are you a therapist or a psychologist? Because I know that here, by the way, in Israel, and I don't know how it is in Germany, but in Israel, that's not how it works. But here, if you want to be a therapist, you have to get your master's level degree. If you want to be a psychologist, you have to be a doctor. And she said, yes, I'm a psychologist. And I said, oh, wow, like you Israeli and you did it. Like you really went ahead and you did like basically the highest degree that you could get. How did you do that? Where did you study? And she said, she kind of like gave me a roadmap of like when I graduated from my bachelor's degree, I went to this school. This is how you do it. While in school, you get your master's degree. And then, when you're done with that, you get your doctorate degree. And it's like a 5-year program. And you have to do your internship after, and then your postdoc after. And then you get to a place where you can take the licensure exam. And so you're looking at like a 7-year, give or take 7-year of this is what you need to do in order to be where she was. Mm-hmm. And this is what I did.
Again, what a great coincidence that you interviewed this passenger who told you exactly how it works.
Yeah.
That interview was more beneficial to you than to her. It's like, oh, that's while I have you here, can I ask you these questions that I need for my life?
And it's funny because a month ago, I was at this networking event and I saw her.
Oh my gosh. And did you tell her where you are now?
So I told her, I don't think that you would ever remember me. You don't know me.
Right.
But you don't know that. But I'm here because of you. And so I interviewed you a long time ago. This is, like basically 10 years ago, I interviewed you while you were on the flight. And I followed everything that you told me. And now I just opened my own practice. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
So yeah.
What
so
a
was
full
cool.
circle moment.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I felt amazing. She was like, I don't know who you are, but that's cool. So that's what I did. And I think that what I thought about like throughout my path was that I will, if I'm not living in Israel, and if I'm not doing what like I'm supposed to do, in parentheses, which is, that what I was raised to do and all of that, then I have to be the best self that I can be, that I have to do the best that I can do in this world, because I'm not there. Like that's the kind of like the permission I gave myself, was that, okay, you have given this opportunity to live somewhere else. You can't just be, you can't just write it and just do something small. You have to do the best that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best that I can.
Yeah.
So
did you feel guilty?
Yes.
Making the decision?
I still feel guilty.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Is it the being away from family that makes you feel guilty?
For me, that's the most.
Mm-hmm.
The leaving my family. My mom always said, I give you roots and I give you wings.
Yeah.
And then she jokingly, but maybe not jokingly, said, I should have given you a radius, how far you're allowed to fly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my God, it's exactly what my mom keeps saying.
Yes.
It's so funny.
Like, I want you to fly. I didn't want you to fly that far.
That's exactly what she's saying. She keeps saying, like, I really wanted my kids to be independent, but not too independent.
Right. Exactly. Just to a certain degree independent. Yeah. I mean, she knew how much, and our stories are a little bit different, like how much I desperately wanted to live here. So, of course, a mother that loves her child supports that. Like, I want my child to do what is best for her, and I want her to achieve whatever she wants to achieve. But does it have to be on the other side of the world?
Exactly.
It's kind of like, and you feel guilty. I will feel guilty for the rest of my life. I have a daughter here, and I keep her away from her grandparents, from her aunts and not aunts. I have brothers, from my brothers and from my friends, and like, but
You're right.
That's just something you live. I think I will live with for the rest of my life.
It's true.
But if I would have not done it, I would have feel guilty for not following my dreams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's this. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, you're right about that. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about what would be the opposite. Just what you just said about if I wouldn't that it's you wouldn't leave your dream, and it's true, because like to me, yes, I completely agree with this guilt. Yeah.
That's the mother guilt. Kristen Bell said that once about the mother guilt. If you're with your children, you feel guilty that you're not doing something for yourself, that you're not following your career the way you should. If you're following your career and you're working, you feel guilty that you're not with your children.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You always feel guilty, whatever you do.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of got to figure out a way to give yourself permission.
Yeah.
This is for me and this is for others. This is when you're a mom, then this is for my children. I'm with my children now. And then we're back to the do 100% when you have the chance to do something, do it correctly. Like right now I'm with my children. I'm going to be 100% with my children. Mm-hmm. And in 3 hours, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to be at work.
Yes. Yes, you're right.
And that's the balance too. Like you don't live your life for your parents and your friends. Mm-hmm. Like, and what daughter or what sister or friend could you be if you're not happy? Like, that's what I thought too. If I stay in Germany and I'm miserable because I don't want to be here, what good does that do for my friends and my family? Then they have somebody like miserable. Like, that's not what they want.
That's true. That's true. And I think that maybe for me, I never thought about it because in my mind, I wasn't miserable in Israel, right? It wasn't like I had something that I needed to change. It didn't come from that. Mm-hmm. It didn't come from a place of like, I cannot succeed here. I cannot do it here. I don't like it here. And so I want to try something else for myself. I think that since life just took me here, and love and, relationships and all of that, and just like, and I just played a role of just flowing with that I couldn't tell myself that. Like, it wasn't like, oh, but you didn't like it there.
Yeah.
Right. So
I had that benefit that I could tell myself.
Yeah. You tried it and you didn't like it.
Yeah.
You prefer this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I remember actually that even when my husband proposed to me, I mean, it was a very magical moment anyway, but few moments later, I had my mom in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I told myself, oh my God, this is forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder, what is she thinking about it? And I have to call her right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
How was that call?
Well, luckily she knew.
Oh. Did he ask her?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I mean, my dad is still there and he's very present. But my parents are divorced, and my mom.
I just wanted to ask.
Yes. I know. Like, we keep talking about my mom. I know.
Like, was there a father?
Yes. My dad is there, and he's very present. I think he's way more present now as me as adult. But my mom was the one that raised me since they divorced when I was 8. So yeah.
So she already knew. So when you called her and told her, it was not a shock.
It was not a shock. But in my head, I was like, wow, I have to like stop this moment because I have to go and call her.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to see what she's thinking about it. If it's not okay. Like it just felt surreal.
Yeah. Well, that was good for me because I always planned it when I want to move to America and I want to stay. Mm-hmm. Like I would have bought a one-way ticket if they would have let me.
Wow.
Like they don't let you. When you come to America, you have to have a ticket back.
Do you really?
Yes, you do.
Even if you know you're going to be here for a year?
Wow.
Yes. They ask you at the airport, when are you flying back?
Wow.
So I always booked my ticket for to be home around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I moved here February 1st and I booked my ticket for December 20th or something to fly back because I just wanted to be home for Christmas. But I always had a fly into America and fly back ticket for years. That was that way because you can't buy a one-way ticket on the certain visa and all the stuff that I was on. It's like they always want to know, when are you going to leave?
Yeah.
It's like the first thing. Like, how long are you going to stay while you're here? When are you going to go back?
Yeah.
But I never had to have this conversation with my mom later on because everybody in Germany knew once she's there, she's not going to come back.
Wow.
I mean, there are a lot of people who are like, oh, you're not going to make it. You're going to be back in 3 months anyway because it's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. And then that was mine. Oh, I'm going to show you.
Yes.
I'm not going to come back.
I love that.
There's this scene in the movie Burlesque with Christina Aguilera, which always was like, oh my God, I loved this scene so much. There she goes and buys a ticket to fly to LA. And they ask her one way or round trip. And she's just like, you're joking, right?
I love that. That's so you.
That is you.
And I was like, that is my scene.
Wow.
Of course, one way. I'm not, what do you mean? So, yeah.
Yeah.
So you had that conversation. And in your mind, were you like, okay, this is definitely, I'm going to be married and have children and do my profession, and this is it. I'm going to stay in America.
Well, again, even today, I can say it with full heart. I'm definitely married, definitely with kids, definitely profession, but staying here and not going back, I can't say it. I can't say that, even though, yeah, I can say that.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, we never know. That's the thing.
You never know.
I mean, I never know. I mean, right now I know I don't want to be anywhere else than here, but I don't know what I think in a few years. And
yeah,
what does your husband say about that? Do you ever talk about going back with the whole family?
No, it's not realistic. That's not what we think about. And again, that's not what we focus on today. I think that today is just living our lives. And we don't think about it.
What was the visa situation, just for the people that are maybe trying to come here or live here or something? Like you had this work visa first, and then how did you study? Were you on like a student visa?
So the work visa was it permitted me to study, so that was great. But then when I wanted to actually start working in the field that I loved, it was right after we got married that I was able to apply for a green card. And so I applied, and it's not an easy.
Oh my God. So, yeah. A lot of people think, and said that to me too, it's like, oh, so you get married and then you just get your green card, kind of like you get your marriage certificate and you get handed your green card. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
That's a process. So
yeah, so they have to, I mean, you have to go through a big interview where you bring in evidence to show that you and your husband are actually together and it's not fake. And so we brought in our, big wedding album and other things and, pictures from trips, I remember, and like things like that. And you sit there for about an hour and they kind of interrogate this relationship and they ask about this relationship. But luckily there again, it was real.
Yeah.
it wasn't fake. I didn't say anything that was, not true. So I got the green card.
How long had you guys been dating at that point?
I think it was around 4 or 5 years.
And you live with this feeling since you were together, living together and then engaged and married until you got your green card. Did you have this feeling of this is great and I want this, but until I have a green card, I don't know that I can actually recognize that this is real and happening and I can stay? Are you kind of living in this world of not limbo, but it's not totally real until I get that green card?
I didn't think about it that way. I didn't put myself in this thought, which, yes, it is real. Because, again, as we said before, if I didn't do good on my job and they needed to fire me or something, God forbid. But so then they would kick me out of this country. So I didn't really think about it, but you can go that route. And it's true and it's real. So until you get the green card, it's not your presence here is not guaranteed.
Wow. And the first green card is only 2 years.
Yeah.
They give you 2 years first. And then you have to go to the process again to prove again that you're still married and this is not a fake marriage.
Yeah.
And then after the 2 years, you get the 10-year green card. That's what it was for me. Was it the same for you?
Yeah, yes, I guess so. Yeah, I don't remember the process after the 2 year. Yes, I did get just a 2 year, and then I remember that they extended it. I think that by then we had our first child, so maybe that kind of helped to kind of seal the deal that we're still together and it's real. But yeah, and then I had my other. I don't remember if it was for 10 years or more, but something like that. Yes. Yeah. So I had the green card. But to me, it signified the moment that I could leave that job.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
once you have that green
felt
card in your hand, you're
free. You're free to do whatever you want now.
Wow.
So to me, that signified that point, and I was very excited about that. So I was very excited to tell them whoops, bye, not here anymore. And so my next job was actually related to what I am doing today, which was to be a behavior therapist. So I worked with kids with autism or autistic kids. It depends on how they feel more comfortable calling themselves nowadays. And that really opened my eyes to the field of psychology, of behaviorism, of everything that I lean on today. This was my first real exposure to working with people that need more help, and I loved it. And it was great. And so I did that while I was in at UC Irvine. And after that, I when I graduated, I also got pregnant with my first son. And as soon as I got pregnant, I told myself, this is the time that you have to apply to graduate school, because who knows what, if you don't do that, who knows when you'll have time for graduate school. And I started graduate school with a 3-month-old at home. And luckily, my mother-in-law was and is super, super helpful. And I really thank her and her partner to basically, I thank them for my degree and for everything that they did for me, because they took care of all my kids in the first year of their lives. So they were there and they were helping me, but it was, it was a big challenge,
right?
To go through school, and now it's graduate school. Now it's a real deal. Now you have to be present. You have to be there all the time. And I remember basically like pumping in the restroom and dealing with all of that, while most of my peers were younger than me, just like single. They could put a lot more effort into sitting in a class and do everything. But I had something more precious at home. So I did what I could do. And I really learned how to be efficient in studying, and also giving myself the time to be with my son.
So we're going to stop it right here.
Yeah, that's enough for one day, I think.
We have a second episode coming.
Next week.
Yeah, sorry. You got to wait a week to listen to the rest of this story.
What was your most interesting part of episode 1? Was it the immigrating from Israel and how that was similar to your experience immigrating from Germany?
It was similar, but it was also different because she never had that crazy dream for years and years and years that I had. Like I don't remember when it started with me, but very early on, I wanted to live in America. And I was like, I'm going to do everything it takes to move to this country. And tried every way and every different jobs that could bring me here, and different, I don't know, ways. Like maybe this visa would work, or this visa would work, or I could do this or this. That was never her. That was never Addie. She just, it kind of just happened.
Right.
And then the thing with, she met somebody, and then, yeah. So that was very different. But then also, of course, there were similarities. So many with the being away from the family and feeling guilty about it. And yeah, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we had here the situation they have over there, where when you finish high school around 18, you don't have to know what you want to be when you grow up yet. You don't have to declare your major and go off to college. You do the 2 years of service, 3 if you're a man, and then you take a gap year, and you don't have to be 21 until you figure out what you want to do when you grow up.
I love that.
I think that's so smart.
Yeah. I think they're rushing it here
I
too
think
much.
so too.
You have no idea.
I had a major when I went to college, and I changed it because everyone does, because nobody knows what they want to do at 18.
No. I always wanted to be a veterinarian, but then
I could see that.
After I finished school, I was kind of I'm so done with studying. So I did some internships, and then in costume departments of TV stations, and then I switched over and said I want to study fashion design, become a costume designer. If you would have put me right into college after school, I would have
no way
totally not known what I wanted to do. So for me, it was more the internships that I did to see, do I like this path? Do I like this path? I think that should be a regular thing. You have to intern for at least a year in the different things that interest you to even know if you like it. Because sometimes I know somebody who wanted to be a teacher, and they went to university to study and everything. And after years, they for the first time stood in front of a class and like had a panic attack.
And also they were like, I don't want to be around 24 children.
Exactly. And then they noticed.
It's a good thing to know about yourself.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe it would have been interesting to figure that out first.
Yeah.
Or with medicine. Like maybe people are very, very smart. You need to be very smart to study medicine, go to medical school in Germany, the same thing. But maybe you're not really good about dealing with sick people.
Right.
You know?
I wish they had that too.
So you I feel like it's good if you just do the job first to figure out, do I even like the job? And then you study for it to become that.
Yeah.
That's not what they do in Israel. I mean, they do like the military service and then they travel and stuff. But that's also kind of more like finding yourself and figuring, just taking a break after school.
Yeah.
Like after all this studying, you just take a break and see, okay, what do I really like?
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that we have something we learned today that we can take with us. It gives
Yeah.
us like more perspective for raising our own children.
Let's tell our children there's no way you're going to call it right away. You're going to do a 2-year gap
Yes.
to find yourself
Yeah.
and to figure it out.
Well, first she's going to do her 2 years of working for me. That's her service.
That's the service. Yes.
And then she can go travel and then she can declare what she wants
That's
to be.
the internship.
Yeah.
She has to be a personal assistant.
Can we mandate that?
The worst job in the world, the personal assistant. Yeah, let's do that. Oh my God. She was great. Adi I liked her so much. She's
too.
so nice and kind and
Yeah. I'm excited to hear about the rest next week.
yeah. Cool.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
See you next week. Bye.